The sun hung low in the sky, painting the dusty streets of Willow Creek, a small town nestled in the rolling hills of Tennessee, with hues of amber and gold. 12-year-old Amara Jackson stood behind a rickety wooden table she dragged from her grandmother's shed, her bare feet pressing into the warm gravel of her front yard. The table wobbled slightly, but Amara had stabilized it with a stack of old books, a tattered copy of Charlotte's Web and a worn-out algebra textbook from her older brother, Jamal. Above her, a hand-painted sign fluttered in the gentle breeze, the words, Amara's Sweet Citrus Bliss, written in bold purple letters, surrounded by lopsided drawings of oranges and smiling suns. The price was simple, 75 cents a cup. Amara wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead, her braids swinging as she adjusted the pitcher of orangeade she'd spent all morning perfecting. It wasn't just any orangeade, this was her own recipe, a blend of fresh squeezed oranges from the tree in her backyard, a hint of honey from Mr. Carter's beehives down the road, and a secret splash of ginger she'd swiped from her grandmother's spice rack. She'd been dreaming of this moment for weeks, ever since her science teacher, Ms. Rivera, announced the school's annual STEM fair. The grand prize was a scholarship to a summer camp at the Tennessee Tech Institute, a place where kids built robots, launched rockets, and explored the stars. Amara wanted that prize more than anything. She'd always been fascinated by how things worked, taking apart old radios, sketching blueprints for imaginary machines, but her family couldn't afford the camp's tuition. So, she'd decided to fund it herself, one cup of orangeade at a time. Her grandmother, Nana Ruth, poked her head out the screen door of their weathered shotgun house, her silver hair tied back in a neat bun. "You sure you don't want me hovering, baby girl?" she asked, her voice warm but teasing. "I could be your official taste tester." Amara grinned, her gap-toothed smile lighting up her face. "I got this, Nana. You just wait, by sundown, I'll have enough to register for the fair and buy some supplies for my project." She patted the shoebox beside her, her treasure chest, where she'd already tucked away $3.50 from Mrs. Jenkins, the librarian who'd stopped by earlier with a quarter and a crumpled dollar bill. "Besides, you said I need to learn to stand on my own 2 feet. Nana Ruth chuckled, her eyes crinkling. "That I did. All right, then. Holler if you need me." She disappeared back inside, leaving Amara to her mission. The afternoon unfolded slowly at first. A few neighbors wandered over. Mr. Carter bought 2 cups and left a generous tip, praising the honey's subtle kick, while little Tommy from across the street traded a handful of nickels for a cup he slurped down in seconds. Amara's notebook, where she tracked every sale, showed $8.75 by mid-afternoon. She was halfway to her goal of $50, enough for the fair's entry fee and some basic materials to build her project, a solar-powered water purifier she'd been sketching in secret for months. As she stirred the orangeade, the faint hum of cicadas filled the air, blending with the chatter of kids playing hopscotch down the block. Amara waved at them, her confidence growing with each sale. She practiced her pitch in her head, "Try Amara's Sweet Citrus Bliss, made with love and a little magic." She imagined herself at the STEM fair, standing beside her invention, explaining how it could bring clean water to places like Willow Creek during the dry season. Maybe she'd even win the scholarship. Maybe she'd be the first in her family to go to college someday. But then, a low rumble interrupted her daydreams. It started as a distant vibration, like thunder rolling in from the hills, but it grew louder, sharper, until the ground beneath her feet seemed to tremble. Amara squinted down the road, her hand shielding her eyes from the sun. Around the bend came a sight she'd never seen in Willow Creek, a pack of motorcycles, their chrome gleaming like liquid fire. There were at least 10 of them, engines roaring as they tore through the quiet town. Dust swirled in their wake, and the kids on the street froze, their hopscotch game forgotten. Amara's heart thudded in her chest as the bikes slowed, their riders steering them right toward her stand. The engines growled to a stop, and silence fell, heavy and thick. She gripped the edge of her table, her palms sweaty, as the lead biker, a towering figure in a black leather jacket, swung his leg off his bike. His boots crunched against the gravel, and his helmet came off to reveal a face carved with deep lines, his salt and pepper hair pulled back in a short ponytail. His jacket was covered in patches, a skull with wings, a coiled snake, and the words, "Iron Wolves," stitched in red. The other riders dismounted behind him, their leather creaking, their faces obscured by helmets or sunglasses. One of them, a woman with a shaved head and a piercing through her lip, crossed her arms and leaned against her bike, watching Amara with a faint smirk. Another, a wiry man with a scar across his cheek, pulled a cigarette from his pocket and lit it, exhaling a plume of smoke that drifted toward the orange tree. Amara swallowed hard, her mouth dry despite the pitcher of orangeade beside her. She'd heard stories about bikers, tough, wild folks who roared through towns like this, leaving trouble in their dust. But she'd never seen them up close, and certainly not parked in front of her house. The neighborhood went still, even the cicadas seemed to hush. The leader stepped forward, his shadow falling over her stand. He tilted his head, reading her sign with a slow nod. "Sweet citrus bliss, huh?" His voice was gravelly, like he'd spent years shouting over engines. "That you're doing, kid?" Amara nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, sir. 75 cents a cup." He raised an eyebrow, then glanced back at his crew. "Hear that? 75 cents for bliss. Sounds like a steal." A few of the bikers chuckled, but there was something in their eyes, curiosity, maybe, that made Amara's stomach twist. She couldn't tell if they were mocking her or genuinely interested. The leader reached into his pocket, pulling out a crumpled $5 bill. "Give me 7 cups. 1 for me, 6 for my wolves." He dropped the bill on the table, and Amara's hands shook as she grabbed her stack of paper cups. She poured quickly, the orangeade splashing a little as she handed them out. The bikers gathered closer, their boots scuffing the dirt, and Amara felt their eyes on her, judging, waiting. The leader took a sip, his expression unreadable. Then he nodded. "Not bad. Got a kick to it. What's your secret?" "Ginger," Amara blurted, then bit her lip, wondering if she'd said too much. But the man grinned, a flash of teeth against his weathered face. "Smart kid." He turned to his crew. "What do you think?" The woman with the shaved head downed her cup in one gulp and smacked her lips. "Better than the swill we got at the last gas station." "I'll take another." She tossed $1 onto the table, and soon the others followed, digging into their pockets for bills and coins. Amara's shoebox began to overflow, and her fear started to ebb, replaced by a flicker of hope. Maybe they weren't here to cause trouble. Maybe they were just thirsty. But then, the unthinkable happened. The leader set his empty cup down and leaned in, his voice dropping low. "You got guts, kid, running this stand all by yourself. Ever think about doing something bigger?" Before Amara could answer, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, weathered notebook, its edges frayed. He flipped it open, revealing pages filled with sketches, intricate designs of engines, gears, and machines Amara couldn't quite decipher. "We're not just riders," he said, tapping the paper. "We're builders. And I think you've got the spark we look for." Amara stared at the notebook, her mind racing. Builders? Spark? What was he talking about? The other bikers watched her closely, their grins widening, as if they knew something she didn't. And in that moment, Amara realized this wasn't just about orangeade anymore. Something bigger, something unthinkable, was about to unfold. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across Willow Creek as Amara stood frozen, the leader's notebook still open in his hands. The sketches danced before her eyes, gears interlocking, pipes curving into strange contraptions, and what looked like a motorcycle frame powered by something she couldn't identify. Her fingers itched to touch the pages, to trace the lines and figure out how it all fit together. But her voice caught in her throat, trapped between awe and uncertainty. The leader, whose name, she'd learn later, was Marcus, watched her reaction with a knowing glint in his eye. "You see it, don't you?" he said, his tone softer now, almost conspiratorial. "That spark. The one that makes you wonder how things tick." Amara nodded slowly, her curiosity overpowering her nerves. What is all this?" she asked, gesturing to the notebook. Marcus closed it with a snap and tucked it back into his jacket. "Dreams on paper. Machines we've built, machines we're still dreaming up. The Iron Wolves aren't just a biker gang, kid. We're a crew of makers, mechanics, welders, inventors. We ride because it's freedom, but we build because it's who we are." The woman with the shaved head, Lena, as she introduced herself, stepped forward, wiping orangeade from her chin. "He's not kidding. That bike I'm riding? Solar panels in the frame. Charges while I roll. Took me 6 months to figure out the wiring." She jerked her thumb toward the scarred man, who was still puffing on his cigarette. "Enrico over there built a water pump from scrap metal that saved a whole campsite last summer." Amara's eyes widened. Solar panels? Water pumps? These weren't just bikers, they were like her, people who saw the world as a puzzle to solve. She glanced at her shoebox, now brimming with crumpled bills and coins, far more than her $50 goal, and then back at Marcus. "Why are you telling me this?" Marcus crouched down to her level, his leather creaking. "Because I saw you sizing up my bike when we rolled in. You weren't just scared, you were curious. And that orangeade? It's not just juice. It's a formula. You've got the mind of a builder, Amara. We could use someone like you." "Use me?" Amara echoed, her brow furrowing. "I'm just a kid." "Not just a kid," Rico cut in, flicking his cigarette butt into the dirt. "A kid who's already figuring out how to turn oranges into cash. That's step 1. Step 2 is turning ideas into steel." Before Amara could respond, Nana Ruth emerged from the house, her arms crossed and her gaze sharp. "What's all this about?" she demanded, eyeing the bikers with suspicion. "You folks buying orangeade or stirring up trouble?" Marcus straightened, tipping an imaginary hat. "No trouble, ma'am. Just impressed by your granddaughter's hustle. We're the Iron Wolves, traveling builders, not outlaws. Name's Marcus." He extended a hand, and after a moment's hesitation, Nana Ruth shook it, her grip firm. "Ruth Jackson," she said. "And I'll thank you to explain why you're crowding my yard." Marcus smiled, unperturbed. "Fair enough. We're on our way to a makers rally up in Knoxville, folks like us showing off what we've built. Saw Amara's stand and figured we'd stop for a drink. But now I'm thinking she's got potential we can't ignore." Nana Ruth raised an eyebrow. "Potential for what?" "To join us," Lena said, stepping forward. "Not on the road, not yet, anyway. But as an apprentice. We've got a program for kids with talent. Teach them the basics, welding, circuits, design. She could learn with us, maybe even show off that orangeade stand at the rally." Amara's heart leaped. An apprenticeship? With bikers who built machines? It sounded wild, impossible, like something out of the sci-fi comics Jamal used to read her. But Nana Ruth's expression hardened. "She's 12. She's got school, chores, a life here. I'm not letting her run off with strangers on motorcycles." "We're not asking her to run off," Marcus said calmly. "It's a weekend thing, supervised. We've got a shop in Nashville, an hour's drive. She'd come once a month, learn some skills, build something real. All on us, no cost. Think of it as an investment." Nana Ruth glanced at Amara, who was practically bouncing on her toes. "Nana, please," Amara whispered. "I could learn so much." And it'd help with my STEM fair project. I'd still be home most of the time, I promise. The bikers waited, their engines ticking as they cooled. Finally, Nana Ruth sighed. I'll think on it. But I need more than your word. You got proof this program is legit? Marcus nodded, pulling a folded flyer from his jacket. It was creased but official looking, with a logo of a wolf holding a wrench and details about the Iron Wolves Youth Initiative, a non-profit that taught kids engineering through hands-on projects. Call the number, he said, handing it over. Talk to our coordinator. We've been doing this for 5 years. Kids have gone on to win scholarships, start businesses. We're rough around the edges, but we're real. Nana Ruth tucked the flyer into her apron pocket. We'll see. For now, you've had your orangeade. Safe travels. Marcus tipped his head again. Appreciate it. Amara, keep that spark alive. We'll be back tomorrow for your answer. He mounted his bike, and the crew followed, their engines roaring to life. As they peeled out, dust swirling behind them, Amara clutched her shoebox, her mind spinning with possibilities. That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table with Nana Ruth, the flyer spread out between them. What if this is my chance, Nana? She asked, her voice small. To be more than just the girl with the orangeade stand? Nana Ruth sipped her tea, her eyes distant. Your granddaddy was a builder, you know. Fixed cars, made furniture. He'd have liked these folks, rough, but with heart. But I need to know you're safe, Amara. That's all I care about. I'd be careful, Amara promised. And I'd make you proud. Nana Ruth smiled faintly. You already do, baby girl. The next morning, the rumble returned. The Iron Wolves rolled up, and Marcus stepped forward, his notebook in hand. Well, he asked. Nana Ruth met his gaze. One condition. I come with her the first time. See this shop for myself. Deal, Marcus said, grinning. Hop on, Amara. Let's show you what unthinkable really means. The ride to Nashville was a blur of wind and wonder. Amara clung to Lena's waist, her helmet snug as the motorcycle hummed beneath her. Nana Ruth followed in Mr. Carter's borrowed pickup, her hands gripping the wheel like she was ready to chase the bikers down if they tried anything funny. The hour passed quickly, and soon they pulled into an industrial lot on the edge of the city, where a sprawling garage loomed, the Iron Wolf shop. Inside, the air smelled of oil and metal, and the space buzzed with activity. Workbenches lined the walls, cluttered with tools, wires, and half-finished projects. A group of teens welded a frame in one corner, sparks flying, while another kid, maybe 14, tinkered with a drone, its propellers whirring. Amara's eyes darted everywhere, drinking it in. Marcus led them to a cleared table. This is where it happens, he said. Kids come here, learn the ropes, build what they dream up. You in? Amara nodded, her voice firm. I'm in. Her first project was simple, a motorized cart for her orangeade stand, powered by a small solar panel. Lena taught her to solder, Rico showed her how to align gears, and Marcus helped her sketch the design. Hours melted away, and by dusk, the cart rolled, a wobbly but triumphant success. Nana Ruth watched, her skepticism softening into pride. Back home, word spread. Neighbors flocked to Amara's stand, not just for orangeade but to see her cart. Her shoebox overflowed, and she registered for the STEM fair, her confidence soaring. The bikers became regulars, their visits a highlight of her week. The STEM fair arrived, and Amara stood beside her solar-powered water purifier, a sleek, functional marvel built with the wolves' help. The judges marveled at its ingenuity, and when the awards were announced, her name echoed through the crowd, first place. The scholarship was hers. As she clutched her trophy, the Iron Wolves roared up, cheering louder than anyone. Marcus handed her a patched jacket, her own wolf insignia. "You're one of us now," he said. Amara beamed, her dreams no longer just sketches but steel and light. The unthinkable had happened, a girl with an orangeade stand had become a builder, a winner, a wolf, and the journey was just beginning.